The Labour Party is divided over the issue of freedom of movement as Jeremy Corbyn refuses to confirm whether his party would continue the policy after Brexit, but uncovered footage of top Labour figure Andy Burnham reveals he insisted it drives wages down. Mr. Corbyn told the BBC's Andrew Marr yesterday that a Labour government would allow a great deal of movement between countries but would not reveal the exact policy that will be in the party's manifesto, due to be released this week. Current Labour policy is to maintain and extend free movement rights, which was voted for at the Labour Party conference in Brighton. While the policy is wholeheartedly backed by Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbott, it was attacked by Unite leader Len McCluskey last week. Mr. McCluskey told The Guardian, "It's wrong in my view to have any greater free movement of labour unless you get stricter labour market regulation." Mayor of Greater Manchester Mr. Burnham, who was previously a cabinet minister and 2015 Labour leadership candidate, came out against freedom of movement in 2016. He claimed Labour was wrong to prioritise the single market over immigration controls. In archive footage uploaded to Twitter by the Core on Saturday, Mr. Burnham claimed freedom of movement depresses wages. He said, "I expressed a lot when I was the MP for Lee how freedom of movement has allowed, in my view, the undercutting of wages. Some people debate this but I saw evidence of it where people were brought in by agencies from other European countries and it was used to bring wages down," the Core wrote. Labour's Andy Burnham confesses, "Britain's young and working class have every right to be furious with immigration and EU freedom of movement, which has depressed their wage earning potential, leaving them facing a bleak future." Mr. Burnham broke ranks in December 2016 when he spoke out against freedom of movement, claiming it could harm efforts to protect key industries. He claimed the EU referendum result was a vote against freedom of movement and insisted that a balance must be found between border controls and single market access. The former Shadow Home Secretary added that free movement is inherently discriminatory and caused a strain on schools and public services. His comments were dismissed by Ms. Abbott however, who told the BBC's Nick Robinson on the Andrew Marr show, "The truth is you cannot have access to the single market without a measure of freedom of movement." Meanwhile, he was also attacked from across the aisle by then Tory MP Ken Clarke who branded him a paler version of Nigel Farage. Mr. Clarke said, "And like Andy, going on Labour free movement of labour, sounding a bit like a paler version of Nigel Farage. Boris has never been anti-immigrant. Boris does realise the economic interests of Britain are helped if we have access to the biggest open market in the world." Ms. Abbott reasserted Labour's commitment to maintaining and extending free movement last week. However, the row over freedom of movement is just one way in which the Labour Party is divided. Labour's Brexit policy has been accused of being incoherent and unclear, having promised to honour the referendum in their 2017 manifesto but later committing to a second referendum, as well as discussions about a Labour Brexit deal. The Tories currently have a 14-point lead over Labour in the polls and are set to be the biggest party when the UK goes to the ballot box in December. A fresh survey from Survation conducted from November 14 to 16 put the Conservatives on 42%, Labour on 28%, the Liberal Democrats on 13% and the Brexit Party on 5%.